When the last lecture ends and the last lab is completed, whether for winter break, spring break, or summer break, most students take time out from classroom education. But some go looking for another kind of learning.
You can know what the textbook says, what your professor says, but until you actually experience what's going on and being in that environment, you won't be able to fully grasp it.
And these are experiences that are hard. You know, they're these hard, soul-provocative experiences that make you feel guilty sometimes, or might make you feel a lot of things that you're uncomfortable with.
When you're put outside of this comfort zone, you start to question the things that give you comfort in the first place.
Once we learn something that's going wrong in a community, it's our responsibility to really act on that. Everybody says knowledge is power, and I think of it now as knowledge is responsibility.
Winter, spring, and summer breaks have long been holidays from college life, when students rest up, or travel, or just have fun. But some students are seeking out challenges that can change lives and communities. They are choosing the Alternative Breaks program, a 4-year initiative of the University of Maryland. This program sends students and faculty advisors to places around the area, across the nation, and even around the globe. Places where they plunge into vital community service work.
These programs take a student into a setting that challenges them to really touch their heart and to feel emotion and to think about themselves in the context of the issue.
I think you put all of those things together, an intellectually engaging environment, an emotionally demanding setting, and direct experience with a complex social issue. It resulted in what we often refer to as a transformative learning experience.
For my spring break, I went to New Orleans a year and a half after Hurricane Katrina hit. Most of our days were spent gutting homes, which was an all-encompassing process. So there were still wet couches and photographs and teddy bears and sheets on beds. And we were literally lugging all of those things out of the houses as a first step. And then after that, tearing down walls and basically leaving a home skin and bones.
I chose the South Dakota trip, which went to Pine Ridge Reservation for the Lakota people. They had us going into the homes of elderly folk there who are unfortunately unable to really keep up with the upkeep of a house. I had some experience painting, so that was fun to put that to use.
We went to Lima, Peru to paint a school. It was for students whose families were in extreme poverty, which is defined as a family who lives on less than $1 American a day.
In New York, we were with terminal AIDS patients in a hospice care type setting. Either they didn't have means to care for themselves or the family structure to fall back on. So this place was for them to come and live. Basically, we followed the recreational therapist and we did games, but we also interacted one-on-one with the AIDS patients.
Working with student leaders and faculty advisors and local partner organizations, students take concepts from the classroom and test them in the real world. Most come home with new questions about the way that world works.
Well, you're amidst a completely destroyed city. You start to say, hey, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's start to really ask ourselves why these things are happening. Is this about race? Is this about class? Because all 3 times that there's been a tremendous storm in New Orleans, the lower 9th Ward and the most impoverished and most traditionally Black neighborhoods have been the ones to suffer. And the historically prominent and well-to-do neighborhoods, like the French Quarter, they survive.
When students walk in another's shoes, when they work in another's home, they see their own world with other eyes.
Whenever I spoke to any Lakota people there, just the humility and just the overall perspective on life, which includes care for all human beings and all creatures in the earth, really was heartwarming. And to hear such words coming from a people that have every reason to be done with humanity. I mean, these are people who have survived genocide, literally. Yet they still understand and know that all humans are related and all humans have value. And that is extremely powerful.
In Peru, painting a school meant changing perceptions.
We were all thinking, oh man, we came all the way here to paint a school. But when we got into our group discussion later and kind of talked that out, we all decided that it's not really about the task that you're doing. The important thing was that we were doing a practical job that needed to be done, and we got to interact with the children at the same time.
With new perceptions came new commitments. When the students finished their work, they kept on painting.
A couple of us got together and planned out this scene with mountains and hills and butterflies and rabbits. It was just very childlike. It was very happy. Everyone ended up participating in it. We knew that when the kids came back to school on Monday and we weren't there, that they would have something that surprised them that day, and that was going to be the mural.
Whether working with children living in poverty in Peru or people living with HIV/AIDS in New York, most students found themselves exploring new places in the heart.
Just interacting with the people there, they just had nothing. There was nothing I could do to help them. And that's what broke my heart. After the first day, we were walking through Central Park and I had to stop and just cried for a good 5 minutes just because I felt so helpless. But I mean, I really drew from that experience. I had to come to terms with the fact that they had AIDS and they were going to die. And the best thing for them was just to be there with them and talk with them and learn from their lives.
A lot of people go on these trips and they say, man, that wasn't a break, that was actually really intense. So you might not be as well rested as if you had taken off for a week and just read and relaxed, but you're rejuvenated and your spirit is kind of revived, and you start to look at life a little differently, and in that sense, it's more than a break. It's a whole becoming, and that's really important.